Hello and welcome! I'm Jamie.
And I'm Steph.
And we are your hosts for the Star Trek Deep Space Nine Parmocast.
Parmok, of course, being the Klingon word for love.
Because on this podcast, we believe that love will save the world.
And that the Deep Space Nine crew are all in a massive polyamorous relationship web.
That too. Hello, beautiful Parmakis, and welcome back for Season 2, Episode 22 of the Parmocast.
Hi, gang. How's it going?
We hope you are enjoying the sunny summer sun and getting minimal heat stroke on your delicate and sensitive bodies. Gotta be safe out there. Gotta drink lots of water.
Wear sunscreen. It's important.
But enjoy yourself, too.
Yes. Enjoy yourself in a sun-safe fashion, please.
Mm-hmm.
The ask from your hosts here at the Parmocast.
And today we will be enjoying ourselves in a way that I don't think can be considered safe on an emotional level, on a logistical level, because it's a lot of garish here today.
It's a lot of garish here.
Spoilers. Heads up. Trigger warning.
And Garak is making a lot of unsafe choices about his brain chemistry as well.
Well, I mean, who amongst us?
Well, yeah, that's true, actually. Glass houses, stones, etc.
But Julian Bashir feels differently because apparently we've gotten much less cool about casually frying our brains with substances in the 24th century. Garak is like, I'll tell you what's going on, but everybody's going to have to get really cool about a whole lot of stuff.
really quickly.
Yes, as we mentioned, this is season 2, episode 22, titled The Wire. Steph, what did you think of this seminal HBO drama?
I am a big fan of this seminal HBO drama. It's a great episode. I'm very excited to talk about it today. The big highlight for me, of course, is Andy Robinson's performance.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal, but the whole episode, and Siddig is also excellent. I love this episode. I'm excited to discuss.
I agree. I think it's a tremendously fun, exciting, engaging episode. I think that there's also, there are some things that are frustrating and some things that are really interesting. And, like all great art, I think that this episode really doesn't spoon you the answers to the questions it raises. It's more concerned with the ride than like making sure that you land in exactly the spot that maybe the writers were hoping for you to land. And I think sometimes that can be a frustrating experience to not know how you're maybe quote unquote supposed to feel or what you're quote unquote supposed to take away from it. But I think that is like the emotional experience of engaging with art sometimes. And so we gotta, push through that and be willing to appreciate the episode for what it is. And I think that, yeah, like you said, it's a great one. It's a really, really solid little 44 minutes of track.
I'll be interested to hear more about what felt frustrating to you, because I did not feel that. So I'm curious, say more, but also we're going to do the episode analysis, so you can say more then.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. I guess I will just say, not even necessarily speaking to my experience, but in the past, I know when I've watched this episode, frustration is maybe not even the right word, but just I remember being a little bit like, what am I supposed to do with all of these contradictory stories that you're telling me? And we're spending so much time on like precious screen time on things that are contradictory to one another, and so just being like, what is supposed to be my takeaway, right? And that's why I think I'm excited to talk about this episode, because in some ways I think that this is probably an episode that's going to be a lot more fun to talk about than it is to just maybe sit and watch by yourself and then be like, well, fuck, like what does that mean?
Interesting. Okay. Well, I say let's dive into it then and chew on it a bit.
All right. I love to chew the scenery, as my good friend James Kirk often does. Before we leap straight into our episode recap and discussion, Steph, did you have a thought on our flavor this week?
I think we've got a combo, much like Garashir is a combo of their own. I would say we've got, a Bashir's anatomy here. He's tackling a medical problem in his twinky little way. And then we also have, I would say Garak can have a little espionage as a treat.
Yeah, that's exactly what I had for that as well. It feels like it fits pretty squarely. Yeah, the greatest, truly. Bashir is the one that is driving the action by trying to help Garak, and Garak is off in the corner trying to send a Morse code to the troll at the bar. So, yeah, I think that's exactly right.
Fantastic.
All right, cool. Let's head into it. This episode, The Wire, was directed by Kim Friedman, written by Robert Hewitt Wolfe, and was released on May 8th, 1994, a Sunday. Very few cooks in our kitchen today. I love that.
I was just thinking the same. I was like, excellent. Directed by one person, written by one person. Love it.
We had to take a little break after the Maquis 1 and 2 had the entire Star Trek Voyager production team writing out pages.
Well, we open on Julian and Garak strolling along the promenade, with Garak complaining about the difficulties of doing business with the Gallipotans, a species that refuses to acknowledge the concept of time.
Which I'm just going to start doing. I didn't know that was an option, that we could just refuse. We could opt out.
But, he pits up with it because he says, but I must say they make magnificent sweaters. And I just... Yeah. Love that he's like, well, sometimes you got to deal with people who don't acknowledge time because the sweaters are fucking great.
Yeah, and it's a really excellent little, structural writing beat insofar as it's being like, faggots, right up front. This episode's about faggotry.
Strap in, this is about fags, baby.
Well, Julian yawns as Garak speaks, explaining to him that he stayed up late last night finishing the last few chapters of The Never-Ending Sacrifice. Garak, calling it the finest Cardassian novel ever written, asks Julian what he thought. Julian reluctantly tells him he found it a bit dull.
As they arrive at the Replomat, they're greeted by a long line of waiting customers. Garak complains that at this rate, they'll be done with lunch just in time for dinner.
Yeah, he's very frustrated about this, which I thought was very funny.
Very unhappy.
On Cardassia, they have very quick lines at the restaurants.
It's very efficient.
The hostesses are all members of the Central Command. It's really just like...
Julian suggests quarks instead, but Garak replies he's not in the mood for noisy, crowded, and vulgar. Again, faggotry. The pair take their place in line and resume their discussion of the novel. Julian tells Garak he found it repetitive. The novel is supposed to chronicle 7 generations of a Cardassian family, but each generation lives the same selfless lives devoted to the state, then dies. Garak rebuts that the repetitive epic is the most elegant form of Cardassian literature. When Julian counters that there's more to life than service to the state, Garak tells him he's a prisoner to Federation dogma and human prejudice. It feels very on point to me that in this fascist society like Cardassia is, the repetitive epic is seen as the greatest form of literature. It's very in line with the fascist desire for sameness, for uniformity, for predictability. And it echoes kind of that orderly, predictable safety, quote unquote, to borrow from last episode's discussion. So yeah, it feels very in line with kind of fascist values, and then of course the whole service to the state being the highest priority bit.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. You're absolutely right. I also think that this little exchange highlights something else interesting, which is just that it's very, very difficult, and I would say often inadvisable, to try to enjoy a piece of art without any understanding of the context which produced it. Like, human art and literature are replete with structural norms, genre conventions, narrative tropes, which form much of the backbone of the literary canon. And many great works are partially seen as such for the ways that they, play with or against the expectations set by that canon. And so, while I don't doubt, Julian, that this book is probably extremely fucking dull, Julian is also probably, like, literally incapable of appreciating everything that the novel is getting at without knowing or understanding anything about the repetitive epic or, like, Cardassian literary canon as a whole, right? I mean, like, not to be annoying, but it reminds me of when people who don't know anything about musical theater try to talk about Sondheim and be like, it's depressing, or it's repetitive, or, like, it sounds weird. And I'm like, whatever, like, you don't have to like it, but objectively, it is brilliant. And, like, objectively, it is, like, a masterful, like, his body of work is, like, a masterful take on, like, the form, which in some ways you can only appreciate if you understand the form, So,
yeah.
On both sides, I thought that was a really interesting, like, elucidating sort of comment from Garak.
Yeah. Art it's never created without context. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this show is very much, about that, right? Like, we're constantly talking about, like, where these things were coming from. And, like, yes, we're in the future, but we're also in 1994. And how does that, how's that Venn diagram work?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Julian seems genuinely hurt by the comment, but he is distracted by Garak suddenly hissing in pain and clutching at his head. Garak insists he's fine, despite Julian immediately noticing that his pupils have contracted and that his skin is clammy. And I gotta say, okay, in Garak's defense, his skin is literally always clammy. He is a gray lizard man.
That is sort of his default state.
Yeah, come on, Julian. Our observational skills could be stronger.
Garak tries to continue their conversation about literature, but he's quickly struck by another bout of pain. Julian begins to lead Garak to the infirmary, but Garak refuses, saying that he's grown a bit tired of humoring the young doctor. Garak excuses himself, saying he's lost his appetite, and walks off, clearly agitated. Kira emerges from the crowded replomat and walks over to ask Julian what that was all about. An extremely befuddled Bashir tells her he has no idea. A shot of Kira and Bashir next to each other in profile.
Oh, yeah, as they're, like, sort of, like, looking after Garak as he walks away.
I am bisexual in this Chili's tonight. Goddamn. Those are two very beautiful people.
That's a good place to be bisexual.
It is.
I love specifically the bit about Julian being like, just humor me, because he's so used to their dynamic being like, Garak will do whatever I ask without much complaint because he likes to look at my bum. And the way that Garak tells him he's grown a little sick of humoring him, it does just such a good job of foreshadowing the dynamics at play in this episode, and especially, like, how and why we've gotten such a jovial, amiable version of Garak so far in the show up until now. I just think it's really interesting.
Yeah. And we get our theme song.
Our beautiful theme song. Our trumpets in space. Do you think the prophets are just in the hole playing the trumpet? Is that sort of the...
playing the heavenly trumpet, so to speak?
Yeah, or whatever horn it is. I'm not a horn expert.
A brass instrument of some sort.
Yeah. The flugelhorn. Well, later in Dax's quarters, Julian examines an alien plant and tells Jadzia that in his expert medical opinion, it's sick. Dax assures him that she is aware of that, but asks if he can tell what exactly is wrong with it.
It has a terrible case of Christmas decor combined with rejected Little Shop of Horrors prop.
That is fair, but I'm also going to say that is real generous because I thought it looked like someone got a bad case of the swollen genital slice. Like, I mean, it's got like a massive bed of pubes around the shaft/base. And then this big pink conical bit sticking straight up, and then all the massive little spiky horn bits.
It is rather phallic.
I
like that you went to pubes, where I was like, oh, it's like a fur Christmas tree kind of.
I mean, deck the halls with the cubes. That's how it goes, right? That's the tradition.
Yeah, I think that's the original lyric, yeah.
That's what Jesus said when he was dying on the cross.
Oh, no.
You good?
Too much laughter. Well, Julian points out that he's a doctor, not a botanist. Damn it, Dax. He asks if she's consulted Keiko, but she's apparently away at a hydroponics conference. All Dax can tell Julian is that she got the plant on Ladonia 3. Using Dax's computer, Julian discovers Ladonian soil has a fungus that helps plants retain water. He proposes harvesting what's left of it in the current soil, using it to produce more in the lab, which should then help the plant recover. Dax tells him Keiko would be proud, and Julian responds that he wishes his humanoid patients were as easy to treat. I simply love a Dax and Julian scene that doesn't have weird, awkward flirting. I'm glad we're moving past that phase in their
really
relationship.
Building out like a relationship that has multiple different sides to it, and they're not all horny. Yeah. I agree 100%. Even if it feels like Jadzia probably should have been able to Google this by herself, she wanted an excuse to hang out with Julian, and I love that for her. Well, Julian tells Dax about what happened at lunch, and she suggests that maybe Garak just doesn't like going to the doctor. Julian's not convinced, feeling it has more to do with his damned Cardassian evasiveness. Jadzia thinks Julian is taking the situation a bit too personally, which Julian agrees might be true, but he's disappointed that despite the two of them having lunch every week for more than a year, Garak still doesn't seem to trust him.
Jadzia says this makes sense. It's not like he and Garak are really friends. Julian clearly feels otherwise, but he says he ultimately doesn't trust Garak either. Dax is like, it's not like the two of you are really friends. And Julian's like, well, no, of course not. I don't care. Look at how much I don't care, he said, caringly. Right.
Would a friend stick that in another friend's butt? That's crazy. And I feel like this moment, to me, I feel like it's open for interpretation, but to me, it felt like it had to be Dax pushing his buttons on purpose. Like, she knows what those two little homos are up to, and I just don't know that I buy this line about them not really being friends from her otherwise. Like, it feels like it's trying to get Julian to be like, I should go check on my friend, you know?
Yeah, it definitely read strange to me. Like, that doesn't feel like something Jadzia would say.
Yeah. Well, Bashir stabs the plant a little more aggressively than he needed to get a fungus sample, saying that if Garak doesn't want his help, then that's his business.
That evening, Julian steps onto the mostly closed promenade and observes Garak talking to Quark.
Yeah, and the way that this moment is shot, it's very, that two-timing lizard man. Like,
that no good two-timing lizard.
While I was at home with your babies.
The two are discussing a business deal, and Quark assures Garak that he will get his merchandise, which Garak insists needs to come soon. Garak departs, leaving Quark wearing a satisfied grin. Julian pops out and mentions he couldn't help but overhear their conversation. Least subtle man in the quadrant. I absolutely love this dork.
Yeah, I couldn't help it because I was trying really hard to overhear.
Literally.
Well, Quark tells Julian that Garak has ordered a fancy new sizing scanner for his shop, claiming he didn't notice that Garak seemed upset when Julian mentions it. Quark changes the subject to what he could do for Julian, perhaps some Saurian brandy to go or a late-night holosuite session. Julian declines and departs, and I just should have taken the free stuff, Julian. Come on, when else are you gonna ever get an offer like that from Quark again?
To be fair, Quark didn't say it would be free.
That's true.
You're
right. Would you like to spend your money here?
Yeah.
Here?
Since you're here already. The next day in the infirmary, Julian administers a hypospray to Commander Sisko, telling him not to yell at any more admirals. Ben assures him, I wasn't yelling. I was just expressing my feelings. Loudly. I love my dad.
I also love the implication that he expressed his feelings so loudly that he created some sort of medical situation for himself. Like,
dangerous blood pressure.
That's our boy. Yeah. But blood pressure is probably, but like my mind did go to like something more dramatic. Like you just screamed so hard that like your butthole prolapsed or something. Like something real bad.
I don't
And
think
I'm like,
they'd
respect.
fix that with a hypospray, probably.
You never know.
That's
Sometimes
true. Medical,
just a little quick shush in the neck, and it goes down, and the nanobots just put your butthole back in. That's modern medicine.
What a future.
Something to strive for. Well, as Sisko leaves, Chief O'Brien walks in, asking Julian what he needed him for. Julian tells Miles that he needs help accessing the station's old medical files, which makes sense to the Chief as he explains the Cardassians did a general system sweep before they withdrew from Bajor, deleting all their files, including medical records. Accessing the infirmary computer, Miles tells Julian he might be able to reconstruct the data within 2 or 3 weeks. Julian's disappointed, but before Miles can inquire further, Quark calls on the emergency channel asking for Dr. Bashir. Julian exchanges a confused look with Miles as he grabs a medkit and heads to Quark's.
Julian arrives at Quark's to find an extremely drunk Garak working at opening his 3rd bottle of Kanar, despite Quark's objections. Garak is delighted to see Julian, apologizing for his outburst at lunch and promising to make it up to him. He invites Julian to join him for a drink, and Julian accepts but suggests they drink the last bottle somewhere private. Garak agrees and suggests they go to his quarters, but as they go to leave, Julian mentions he needs to make a stop in the infirmary first. And it's just like, Garak's like, we'll go to my quarters. And I'm like, in vino veritas, bitch. We know what you are.
Yeah, I do love how at first Garak is like, great! I have been trying to take this party to my quarters since season 1, episode 2.
Literally.
Also, I just really love how Garak talks to Julian in this scene. It's very like, I may be 6 sheets to the wind, but I can still espionage rings around you any day of the week. Don't get it twisted.
Do not get it twisted. Do not try him.
No.
And Garak, of course, immediately sees through Julian's attempt to deceive him and laughs, then angrily demands the bottle back. And maybe I'm insane, but he looks suddenly like Gul Dukat here. Like, when he's laughing and looks so angry at Julian, it's like he becomes more Cardassian. Like, the way his face transforms from how he usually looks. Like, Andy Robinson, the actor that you are. Incredible.
That's really cool. I'm so glad you clocked that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's only so much that, like, the individual distinctiveness of the human features can come through the makeup.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that, like, they, in moments of shrouded in shadow or whatever, might look like each other. And I just love, like, that hit on a thematic level for you. That's lovely.
Yeah, it was, like, in the eyes. Like, suddenly the eyes are really, like, hard and, like, so different from how we usually see Garak. It was just such a great moment.
Yeah, because Garak does have very warm eyes, I think, in contrast
most
to,
of
like,
the time.
his general way of moving through the world. Yeah. Well, Julian hides the bottle behind his back and insists he'll give it back in the infirmary as Quark slides behind him and grabs the bottle away. This moment is so good. I had to watch it twice to make sure I'd seen it correctly. This is by far the smoothest that these two nerds will ever be, or have ever been, or will ever be again. It's so good.
It's so funny. It's a great, great moment. Garak continues to ramp up, becoming louder and more agitated until he suddenly appears to suffer a seizure, collapsing in pain on the floor of the bar. Julian contacts Ops to have the two of them beamed out of the bar directly to the infirmary.
In the infirmary, Garak lies unconscious with a monitoring device attached to his head as Odo and Julian view his brain on a monitor. The 3D scan of Garak's brain also shows a highlighted section where a foreign object is apparently lodged into the brain matter. Odo asks if it's an implant, and Julian replies he was hoping that Odo could tell him, knowing the Cardassians better than anyone else on the station due to his time working for them. Odo replies sarcastically that while he knew the Cardassians pretty well, he never looked inside their skulls, which, very smart and healthy choice. True. Very pleasant there at all.
Odo asks if the implant is the cause of Garak's condition, perhaps a punishment device put there by the Cardassians when they left Bajor, but Julian doesn't think so. He says that according to the buildup of scar tissue, the implant has been lodged in Garak's brain for years, while he only seems to have been in pain for the last few days. Julian also mentions that he thinks Quark may know something, which of course immediately catches Odo's interest. He's like, an opportunity to blame my boyfriend? Excellent.
Sign me up. Julian relays what he overheard between Quark and Garak, and Odo mentions that this meeting may explain why Quark has sent several coded subspace messages to Cardassia Prime recently. Odo explains that he regularly monitors all of Quark's subspace communications, and when Julian asks whether or not that's legal, Odo replies that it's in the station's best interests.
Don't worry about it.
Let the judge spend 5 minutes with Quark, and I guarantee you it will be legal. Well, Odo tells Bashir to meet him in the security office at 0200 when Quark usually makes his clandestine calls. And I love that there's just like a dedicated time of day that we go do crimes over the phone.
Phone crimes.
It's like the members of Congress.
Yeah. That night, Quark contacts Bohica, a Cardassian acquaintance of his from during the occupation. The two reminisce about old times before getting down to business, with Quark asking if Bohica wants to earn enough latinum to buy himself a promotion. The two of them really have good chemistry as, like, old pals. Not like bosom friends, but like men who understand each other, who have, you know, had this beneficial relationship. It's a really interesting dynamic to see Quark with another Cardassian who he's not clearly, like, afraid of or, like, about, like he is about to caught, like we see in the Odo flashback episode.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I thought that as well. Like, these guys actually seem like they enjoyed each other's company at one point. Like, when he first signs on to the Zoom call, the guy goes, "Quark, you parasite, it's been too long." And I'm like, yeah, that's if there is someone out there who tolerates Quark, like, that's what you're gonna agree.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're gonna say.
I feel like that's probably what Dax says when she comes into Playtonga. Well, Bohica, extremely interested, asks what Quark needs, and Quark tells him that he just needs the installation schematics for a piece of Cardassian biotechnology. Bohica asks what it is, but Quark tells him that he, of course, never asks such questions of his clients,
of course,
and sends the requisition code for Bohica to look up.
Meanwhile, Julian and Odo observe the conversation from the security office. Julian mentions he hopes Odo doesn't have a bug like this in his quarters, to which Odo replies mischievously, "Should I?"
And this moment of them watching Quark on a screen, talking to Bohica on a screen, reminded me so viscerally of that part in Spaceballs where they are watching the movie Spaceballs, and it's just like several layers of Rick Moranis stacked on top of each other.
It's Rick Moranis all the way down.
Rick Moranis would have been an incredible Quark.
That would have been inspiring. I mean, Armin Shimmerman is so great, but Rick Moranis would have been really great too.
Like for the version, like, can you imagine a version of Deep Space Nine where it's all like movie stars instead of TV actors? Rick Moranis would have been an excellent Quark.
You're right. You're so right. Well, Bohica enters the requisition code into his computer, but a red light immediately begins flashing, and he looks terrified.
That's never a good fucking sign.
Not good. He calls Quark an idiot, saying that he is ruined and his career is over. Quark asks what happened, and Bohica tells him the code is for classified biotechnology. Not just that, but the requisition code itself is even classified. He demands that Quark tell him where he got it, then thinks better of it, and says he doesn't want to know. If he's lucky, he says, they will not trace the signal back to him. When Quark asks who they are, Bohica replies, the Obsidian Order. Now equally panicked, Quark quickly ends the transmission.
Dun, dun, dun! Also, I love how when he says their name, Quark's face immediately shifts to this, like, perfect visage of fake politeness, and he goes, "Nice talking to you, Bohica. We should do it again sometime," and hangs up.
Okay, bye!
It's so fucking funny. Well, Odo shuts off the monitor feed, and he and Julian exit to the promenade. Odo explains that the Obsidian Order is the ever-vigilant eyes and ears of the Cardassian Empire, and that it's said a Cardassian can't sit down to eat without the Order knowing and noting what each course is. Julian asks what happens to people who eat something that is not in agreement with the Order, and Odo replies that people have been known to disappear for less.
Yeah, and Odo says, like, whether you agree with their goals or not, you can't help but admire their efficiency. And I'm like, Odo, yeah. I am simply asking you to stop saying fascist shit. Please stop.
Come on, man. Knock it off. Yeah, no, totally. It's like, my guy, can we stop drooling after all this bullshit, please? I also love how he specifically mentions by name that not even the Tal Shiar can compete with the Obsidian Order, because the whole time I'm sitting there being like, wow, this sure sounds a lot like the Tal Shiar. It's like we just filed off the serial number. Fine. I mean, not that secret police forces generally don't have like a lot of them, but still.
To be fair. Well, Julian hypothesizes that the Order put the device in Garak's brain, but Odo is more interested in why Garak wants to get another one. Julian points out that he asked for schematics, so he might be trying to figure out how to remove the device, but there's no way to know for sure without asking Garak himself. Julian thanks Odo for his help and departs for the infirmary. Arriving there, Julian asks for an update on Garak's condition. The computer informs him that Garak is no longer there, and indeed, Julian finds nothing but a discarded hospital gown on his bed.
Yeah.
The computer's like, patient Garak is no longer in the infirmary, and Julian's just like, what? He's so exasperated.
It's extremely like an, oh, for fuck's sake face. Really related to that. Julian immediately rushes to Garak's quarters, but Garak doesn't answer the door chime. Julian uses his emergency medical override to open the door and finds Garak giving himself a hyperspray of triptocedrine, an anesthetic. Julian demands to know how much he's taken, which turns out to be much more than is safe. But Garak dismisses him, saying that Cardassians are made of sterner stuff and that he barely feels anything. Julian insists that they're going to the infirmary, but Garak tells him there's nothing he can do for him.
Julian bluntly tells Garak that Quark is not coming, as he couldn't get the item Garak wanted from his contact. And Garak, at this news, goes, I thought I was supposed to be the spy.
Yeah. And I love Julian finally having the upper hand here for once. And strangely, I think Garak is also kind of into it.
He
I mean, obviously he's got
is.
a lot going on, but like I think there is a like, doctor, like, you know.
My dear doctor, you've got one over on me this time.
Yeah, it definitely has his engine revving, at least in first gear.
But he is indeed dismayed, but says that it ultimately isn't surprising and perhaps is for the best. He requests his hypospray back from Julian, which the doctor refuses. He warns Garak that another dose could kill him, to which Garak responds, thank you for your concern, but I'd rather have the hypospray.
Tell him what's up.
Yep. When Julian refuses again, Garak demands it back again, but falls to his knees in pain as the implant starts acting up again.
Yeah. And as Bashir scans him, Garak chokes out that he will likely find some slight deterioration of his cranial nerve cluster. Julian tells him that the deterioration is far from slight and insists once again on taking him to the infirmary. Garak again refuses, insisting he won't allow the Bajoran population of the station to see him in his current state. Julian reveals that he knows all about the implant, asking whether it really is some sort of punishment device. Garak laughs and says that, in a way, it has become one.
Julian demands answers, telling Garak he needs to know what the device is if he's to have any chance at figuring out how to remove it. Garak tells Bashir the device can't be removed because if it could be easily removed, it would be completely useless. I really love the blocking that shows up in this scene as well as later ones between the two of them in this episode, which is as Garak reveals information to Julian and he's, having to be vulnerable, he physically moves away from Julian. Like he can't handle both a verbal and a physical intimacy happening at the same time.
Wow, I didn't notice that. What a great catch. That is really, really interesting.
Yeah, like
I think that fits with his character so well.
He's literally running away from having to be vulnerable.
I mean, relatable. Many such cases. Well, Garak tells Julian that on Cardassia, he was entrusted with important information that needed to be protected no matter the circumstances. The implant was given to him by Anabran Tain, the head of the Obsidian Order, to trigger the production of excess endorphins should he ever be subjected to torture. Garak laughs at the irony of a device designed to make him immune to pain causing his present problems. When Bashir asks what caused the implant to malfunction, Garak tells him that it was never meant for continuous use.
Garak goes on to explain that life on Deep Space Nine is torture for him. The temperature too cold, the lights too bright, and everywhere he turns, the eyes of the station's Bajoran populace filled with hatred. Reaching a point where he couldn't take it anymore, Garak created a device to trigger the implant on demand. At first, he only used it a few minutes a day, but slowly began to keep it active more and more until one day, he turned it on and never looked back. 2 years later, the implant is finally breaking down. Julian suggests turning it off now, but Garak's body has become completely dependent on the higher endorphin levels from the implant. Just fucking Andy Robinson. What an absolute star he is. Like, always, but incredible. Especially in this episode, he's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is really like the Andy Robinson show. He is running the show here in a way that is like so satisfying.
Yeah.
Just being such fans of him. I mean, obviously, if you're watching along with us, you've only gotten a little bit of him so far, but yeah, just this is such a fucking phenomenal sequence. I mean, not only is the delivery on this monologue and the chemistry between these two men incredible, it's also such an interesting insight into the Garak that we have known so far on DS9. You know, that the entire time he's been existing in this drugged up stupor, just trying to survive. I mean, it makes Garak such a tragic character in a way, retroactively, that is so fun and interesting, especially compared to the other Cardassians. I mean, it makes me think of, not that their stories are necessarily similar, but it makes me think of Maritza in season 1, and just to what incredible effect these writers are able to use a tragic Cardassian, a member of this genocidal fascist race that is also themselves part of like a tragic narrative. It just it hits real good.
Yeah, absolutely. Julian berates Garak for giving up and letting them win. The Central Command, the Obsidian Order, or whoever was responsible for Garak's exile. Garak spits back at Julian, asking whether anyone has ever told him he is an infuriating pest. Not missing a beat, Julian tells him, Chief O'Brien, all the time, and I don't ever pay any attention to him either. Oh, the two of them have such good chemistry. It's just ridiculous.
That was very, this sign won't stop me because I can't read. Julian is just like the funniest person in the world. I can't with him at all.
Love him.
Garak points out that for all Dr. Bashir knows, he might be getting exactly what he deserves, but Julian tells him that no one deserves the kind of pain that he's experiencing. Garak, annoyed, tells Julian that he can't begin to fathom the things he's capable of. Julian replies that all he needs to know is that he's a doctor and Garak is his patient. Garak tells him he's wrong again, and he should know just who he's trying to save. And this feels extremely like middle school edgelord to me in a way that is very, very funny. Like, no, I'm not lovable. You don't know the darkness in my soul.
Wake me up.
Sure, buddy. Whatever.
Garak tells Julian that he was a gull in the Cardassian mechanized infantry during the occupation, stationed on Bajor.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that is, but to my untrained ear, Cardassian mechanized infantry sounds like fucking Transformers, and I'm choosing to believe this. Cardassia has Transformers, and Garak used to work with them.
Robots in disguise.
Garak has been fucked up the butt by Optimus Prime, and that's just canon. Look at that on Memory Alpha.
Well, near the time of the withdrawal from Bajor, a group of Bajoran prisoners escaped Garak's custody, and his aide, a man named Elim, tracked them to a Cardassian shuttle headed for Terok Nor. The captain of the shuttle refused to let Elim search for the prisoners, claiming he had strict orders from Gul Dukat to depart immediately.
Garak, for his part, then had the shuttle destroyed, killing the Bajorans, Elim, and 97 Cardassian civilians. One of the civilians was the daughter of a prominent military official, and as a result, Garak was stripped of his rank and exiled from Cardassia. As he finishes his story, Garak says he hopes he hasn't shattered too many of Julian's illusions, and then hangs his head in shame.
Julian tells Garak that he's not concerned with what he's done in the past, and that he won't leave Garak to die. Whatever the side effects may be, he promises to help Garak through them after turning off the evites. And I'm like, the depth of compassion that Julian shows to him despite this story. Like, Julian is so full of forgiveness and love. Like, we've mainly seen Julian be a smart doctor, you know, capital D, TM. But now we see how much he cares. And we really begin to see how that's such an important part of how and why he is a doctor. And I love that.
Yeah, totally. And also that's part of being a good doctor, which Julian is. Like, have to care in that way. And yeah, I like that too. Well, he asks Garak where the triggering device is, and finally relenting, Garak tells him it's in a nearby drawer, from which Julian successfully recovers it.
Their faces are so close together here. I'm just like, push it, now kiss.
Yeah, these action figures are not doing what I'm telling them to do. I've been trying to push them together into a kiss for like 40 minutes, and it's just...
Later, in Garak's quarters, he lies unconscious on his bed with the monitoring device back on his forehead. Julian tells a nurse that he'll be with Garak for at least the next 26 hours if anyone needs him. Gay.
The nurse leaves, and Julian asks the computer about an ongoing erosion of tissue in Garak's lymphatic system. The computer is unable to provide an answer, however, due to insufficient information on Cardassian physiology. A frustrated Julian instead asks the computer to alert him if there is any sign of activity on Garak's implant. And I just had to note, we have pulled this bullshit a lot with Spock during TOS also, and I feel like we gotta get past this. There are like 11 bajillion of these lizard assholes all across the galaxy. Their civilization is enormous. I just don't buy that nowhere in that 1993 desktop PC is a single floppy disk with any information on Cardassian anatomy. It's not. We're
not buying it. I mean, the thing with Spock was he was supposedly the first ever Vulcan human baby. So I'll allow it for him. But yeah, there's like a zillion Cardassians.
Yeah, it works with TOS because they're like, what do you mean the other episodes? We've never seen those.
Also that.
The first episode we're making.
Just then, the door chimes. It's Odo, hoping to ask Garak a few questions. Dr. Bashir suggests they speak in the hallway since Garak has been unconscious since his implant was switched off.
Outside the room, Odo tells Julian he needs to speak to Garak as soon as possible regarding 4 unsolved murders he's almost certain were committed by the Obsidian Order. If Garak was really a member, the information he could have regarding these cases might be invaluable. Bashir tells Odo he'll have to wait and can't say how long, as he's unsure when or even if Garak will recover.
At this, Odo asks Julian to wake Garak immediately, which the doctor refuses.
Yeah,
which is fair. Like, wake this guy up out of a coma because I want to talk about crimes? No. Moreover...
I don't have time for your special interest now, Odo.
Moreover, Bashir tells Odo that moving forwards, Garak's quarters will be off limits to everyone but emergency medical personnel. And Odo's like, doctor, this is crime. And he's like, that may be so, but he's still my patient, and I'll not have him disturbed. And I'm just like, fuck yes. His number one priority is the well-being of the patient, no matter who they are. My good boy is full of compassion.
Yeah, and there is just the fleetingest little moment here where you really get the sense that Odo is maybe a little bit caught off guard and a little impressed by Julian here, and I really love that.
Yeah.
Julian remains behind in Garak's quarters, watching over him until finally falling asleep in a chair next to the bed. Garak wakes in the middle of the night and sits up in his bed, sobbing. Julian tries to comfort him, but Garak recoils away from him.
The way he, physically recoils from Julian's attempt to put a comforting hand on his shoulder, and he hisses, don't touch me, at him. Oh, it's so good. Andy Robinson.
It's so visceral.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, Andy Robinson, God, he just crushes this episode.
The more Julian tries, the more agitated Garak becomes, destroying a vase and overturning a table in anger at the waste he feels his life has become. He tells Julian he was once the protege of Enabran Tain, the head of the Obsidian Order, who was even more powerful than the Cardassian Central Command. Garak's future was limitless until his fall from grace. Julian mentions the shuttle destruction, but Garak tells him that in fact his disgrace is far worse than he'd previously told him. I really love the way the camera follows Garak around in this scene as he speaks. The shot tracks him and it doesn't cut, so it's one continuous shot of him building the tension, following the way he's lashing out and his mania is building. It's really great camera work.
Yeah, that's a great note. You've had a lot of really good filmmaking notes this episode. I love these things that you've caught. You're right. It is a really great little camera work moment.
Yeah.
Garak tells Julian that on the eve of the Cardassian withdrawal from Bajor, he and Elam were interrogating a group of 5 Bajoran children, none of them older than 14. They were poor, hungry children who lived in destroyed buildings who of course knew nothing, but Garak's duties were to interrogate them, then turn them over to the troops for execution. The room they were in was freezing, however, and Garak was hungry, and suddenly the whole exercise just seemed meaningless to him. He gave the children all the latinum he had and released them. saying Elam just stood there staring at him like he was insane.
Julian tells Garak there was nothing wrong with having pity on poor starving children, but Garak tells the doctor he was a fool and failed in his duty, and that due to that one act he was exiled to the station with nothing to look forward to but lunch with Bashir.
Yeah, and so here is where we start to get into the multiple different versions of the story and what is true and what is not true. And what I really enjoy about this moment is, you know, like always, who's to say what of the details here aren't true, impossible to say. But what is obviously true and real is the self-hatred that he feels and how he blames himself for this whole miserable exile. And it's almost like it's too vulnerable to even like get near that, and so we have to come up with like fake reasons why he blames himself, right? But like the emotion is extremely real, and that is
so
what
real
really grounds these scenes.
Yeah. 100%. Julian says he thought that Garak enjoyed their luncheons, and Garak tells him that that was the worst part. He did. But he hates his life on the station, and he hates Julian. Holding tightly to his composure, Bashir tries to get Garak to lie down, but Garak lunges at him. The two briefly tussle until Garak suffers another seizure and collapses. Just Andy Robinson, an actor! The way he delivers this whole scene, it's so good.
Yeah,
so
he's
good.
got such a powerful presence about him. I mean, Andy Robinson does so much with yelling and like releasing like the pent up emotion, but he also never has to yell. And it's like it's very Avery Brooks in that way. He does so much with speaking under his breath and these very soft tones, and then when he really lets it go, he lets it go. Back in the infirmary, they're able to stabilize Garak's heart, but his lymphatic system is still in critical condition. Confused as to how toxins continue to build despite the implant being switched off, Julian uses the computer to analyze biochemical samples from the last day and a half. The analysis shows that the actual molecular structure of Garak's leukocytes have been altered.
One of the infirmary nurses asks if they could synthesize Cardassian leukocytes, but Julian tells her that even if they could, it would take weeks. The nurse suggests turning the implant back on in an effort to keep Garak alive long enough to synthesize the leukocytes, but from the biobed they hear a now conscious Garak declare that he won't allow it. Garak says he never wants the implant turned on again, and while Julian understands, he isn't sure what else he can do for Garak.
Yeah, and I guess I just wanted to note, this isn't like a super fully formed thought, but it did sort of strike me in an episode that largely I have very few criticisms about and think is mostly extremely excellent. It did feel like a little bit of a quick turn of like, he never wants to do the drugs again. I think it was that we had to just sort of pivot to like the second half of the story, but I wish that there had been, and I think this is truly just a timing thing because there isn't anything else that I would have cut necessarily in favor of this, but I wish that there had been more time to grapple with the fact that at this point Garak is deeply, deeply addicted to these drugs. Not just chemically, but like habitually.
Like very intense addiction.
So, even if they've managed to flush his system or whatever, like he doesn't know anything about living on this station under the Bajoran administration, at least, sober. He's never ever done that. And so just this jump to like immediately, and I never want to touch the stuff again, I think that's probably what they had to do to get us from, to that point. But I do wish that there had been a little more time to let that breathe, because I think realistically, coming out of his coma here, he's probably like, who's got my drugs?
Yeah.
Like, let's do some drugs
give me that shit
now. Yeah. So, I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, it doesn't have the space to be a realistic story of addiction.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Garak tells Julian he's done more than enough for him, more than he deserves. He says he wants to tell the young doctor the truth, which Julian admits with a smile is something he'd given up on getting from Garak.
The truth, Garak tells him, was that Elam wasn't his aide. he was his friend.
Eyes-emoji.
They grew up together, and both earned the favor of Enabrid Tain, becoming extremely powerful members of the Order, feared even by the Gulls. Eventually, a scandal broke out over the escape of some Bajoran prisoners, and rumors were flying about who would be implicated. With Tain having retired to the Arawath colony, Garak couldn't count on his protection and panicked. Garak says he did his best to frame Elam for the ordeal, but realized as he tried that Elam had already done the same to him.
Garak found himself exiled and felt he deserved it, not for the reasons the government said, but for betraying his best friend.
And I just, I highlighted it before, but I love this emotional through line for Garak of it really was just all my fucking fault. Again, like, regardless of the details, like, that is the through line between each version of the story is, you fucking idiot. Why did you do whatever it is you did in this version of the story, right?
Yeah.
Julian asks why Garak is telling him this, and Garak tells the doctor that he just needs to know that someone forgives him. Garak extends his hand to Julian, and taking it, Julian tells Garak he forgives him for whatever it is you did. Garak thanks him and falls back to sleep.
Forgiveness. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I love how Julian is like, that was a nice fake story, and yes, I forgive you.
That is still bullshit, but yes, I forgive you.
Oh, they're just so funny together, man.
Julian asks the nurse to make sure Garak rests comfortably and tells her that he'll be back within 52 hours after he finds the man responsible for this. He leaves the station in a runabout, setting a course for the Arawath colony. Arriving, Julian beams down into a Cardassian-style home where he goes to examine a computer console at the center of the room. Just as he reaches for the display, a Cardassian man appears in the doorway behind him, greeting the doctor by name and telling himself to make himself at home.
Speechless, Julian stares at the man whose home he's just broken into. The Cardassian says he must have something to say to him after coming all this way, causing Julian to realize that this must be Enabrid Tain. Tain replies in kind, calling Julian by his full government name, Julian Sabatoy Bashir. And the fact that this is his actual middle name is just so fucking funny to me.
Literally, Sub is his middle name.
Sub a toy. Like, it's just all gay sex jokes. His parents knew.
I mean, that's Star Trek. Tain tells Julian he let the military know he was coming, which is why Bashir encountered so little resistance flying into Cardassian space. He also offers Julian a mug of Tarkalian tea, which delights him, until he realizes Tain knowing his favorite daily drink is less of a courtesy and more of a power move. Smiling, Tain orders a glass of Kanar for himself, along with the tea. I really, really love the design of Tain's clothes. Like, he looks like this old retired professor. He's got like a sweater with like the leather patches on the elbows, and it's that coupled with this like very warm conversational tone. It's so at odds with what we know about him as a person. Like, this was literally like the head of the secret police for, the fascist planet. Like, it's such a great juxtaposition of this warmth versus like what he's done.
It is, and it also, as strange as it feels at first, you think about it for a second and you're like, yeah, the absolute best position for a guy like that to be in is to look as unassuming as possible. And have everyone in the room just assume that you are like not the most important person in that room, right? And so I think it both looks really good and adds like a nice storytelling component.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tain asks about Garak's condition, but Julian doesn't answer, saying instead that he sees Bohica was right to fear the Obsidian Order. Tain agrees, saying everyone has reason to fear it. And Tain mentions, too, that he likes to stay informed on current events despite his retirement, and that Julian could probably tell him many things he'd be interested to know. Julian sarcastically answers that indeed he could tell him anything he wants to know about medicine, biology, or tennis. Perhaps his opinion on the latest Nilamite alloy rackets.
Bitchy twink in full effect, and I love it so much.
He's such a fucking bitchy bottom. It's so good.
Tain declines and asks again about Garak's condition. Julian tells him he's dying, but he's trying to save him. Tane finds that strange, since he thought Julian was Garak's friend. Julian considers for a moment and answers, "I suppose I am." In that case, Tane tells him he should let Garak die, since a life in exile is no life at all to him.
Nice guy. Julian tells Tane that whatever he may think, it's his job to keep Garak alive, and pivots into telling the old Cardassian all about the deal with Garak's leukocytes. Surprisingly, Tane volunteers to share the data that could save Garak's life. When Julian thanks him, Tane tells him matter-of-factly, he's not doing it for Garak's benefit. He wants to make sure that Garak lives a long, miserable life on that station, growing old, surrounded by people who hate him, with the knowledge that he can never return home. And I was like, damn, that's like a Sue Sylvester level of Gatorade. My God.
Julian sarcastically observes what a lovely sentiment that is, and Tane assures him it's from the heart.
I feel like Tane should get his own tracksuit next.
Before he leaves, Julian asks Tane about what happened to Garak's friend, Elim. Laughing, Tane says Garak hasn't changed a bit. Never tell the truth when a lie will do. Elim, he explains, is Garak's first name.
He has this line, he goes, "That man has a rare gift for obfuscation." And it's a great one-line summary of Garak's entire deal. Elim Garak, as we now know.
As we now know.
Every single time I rewatch this episode, I can't remember if it gets revealed in this episode that that's his name. And it's so funny that he's constantly like, yeah, me and my friend, we were down by the whatever. And
me and me were down. It's kind of a Gollum Smeagol type situation.
Yes, very that. And like, I don't really feel like I actually have a good like hypothesis as to why Garak always uses his own name as like someone he was hanging out with, but this will not be the last time he does it, and it's funny every time after this. It's like, that's you, bitch. We know.
Despite his ill wishes for Garak, Tane asks Bashir to tell him that he misses him.
Aw, I guess. Well, back on Deep Space Nine. Julian sits contemplatively at the replimat when Garak appears, asking if he can join him. Julian is pleased to see him, but also annoyed, saying he ought to be in bed. Garak, fully back to his old self, insists he couldn't stand being in the infirmary another minute, and asks how Julian's spiced pudding is. And Julian has this line, "How's the spiced pudding? Is that all you've got to say for yourself?" So good.
Julian, exasperated, asks how Garak can possibly be ready to go on with life and just pretend the last 10 days never happened. Garak tells him he is satisfied with how everything turned out and sees no point in dwelling on what was a difficult time for both of them. Honestly, Garak must be part Irish, the way he's immediately like, let's never speak of this again and ignore all of the feelings associated with it.
What good would that do to bring it back up? It's over.
It's over. We've moved on.
Garak changes the subject, telling Julian he just had the most interesting conversation with Constable Odo, who appears to be under the impression that Garak was a member of the Obsidian Order.
What?
Garak told him he was mistaken, of course, but Odo warned him that he'll be keeping a close eye on him in the future.
Garak also tells Julian he has something for him, pulling out a data rod containing Meditations on a Crimson Shadow by Prelock, another Cardassian novel about a future war between Cardassia and the Klingon Empire. Julian asks dryly who wins, to which Garak grins and asks, "Who do you think?" Julian sarcastically tells Garak not to tell him. He doesn't want to spoil the ending.
I love that Julian has somehow, inexplicably, come out of all of this with a greater appreciation for Cardassian art and culture. Like, it's just such a funny result of that. Like,
life works in mysterious ways.
It's like, well, drives me absolutely fucking nuts, but I guess I do understand him better now. Well, Julian tells Garak he still has a lot of questions to ask him about his past. While Garak has given him answers, all of them have been different. And Julian says he simply wants to know which of them are true. "My dear doctor," Garak tells him, "they're all true."
"Even the lies?" Julian asks.
"Especially the lies," Garak replies.
The two of them smile fondly at each other. I want to scream slurs at the screen in a positive and affectionate way.
10 out of 10 concur with this plan of action. That is exactly right, Captain.
But there's no time because we roll credits.
Yeah, don't want to get hit in the head with those flying credits. Oh, boy.
What
My
an episode.
goodness, what a ride.
What a fucking ride.
I'm all tingly. Would you like to take us away with our final analysis, Steph?
I would love to. This episode is such an absolute gem for so many reasons. Good plot, great pacing, but most of all, the absolute tour de force performance from Andy Robinson. Not to mention Siddig's wonderful performance in partnership with him. Like, it's very much a duet. To borrow a title from season 1.
But, right.
And it's so wonderful to get some more depth to Garak and what depth it is. Like, we don't know what's true, if any of it is true, but we know so much more than we did, and it gives us so much to explore in the future. And it gives so much more to their relationship of just, like, a couple of fags having lunch.
Yeah, right.
And I just love the way that this has moved this relationship forward and created more of an intimacy, but also at the same time, Garak's going to pretend like, no, it didn't. And like that.
What are you talking about?
That dynamic good. And that play is so fun too. Also, it's so gay.
Yeah, agreed.
Gay. Gay compassion, gay forgiveness, gay book lending. Like, it's gay and it's great.
Yeah, there's nothing heterosexual about this entire
Not
episode.
a single straight thing in this episode at all.
No. Yeah, thank you so much. That's some great analysis. Yeah, I agree. I mean, such a fucking phenomenal, fantastic fucking episode. It's engaging from beginning to end. You know, it really gives Andy Robinson more of a chance to shine as Garak than we've ever gotten before. We love to see it. And really, especially, I love the creative risk that we took by basically doing a Bashir and Garak two-hander here. It feels...
Sorry.
Thank you. It feels very sort of outside the realm of what is typical for Trek. I mean, especially the fact, not so much the idea of doing a two-hander, but the idea of doing a two-hander where only one of them is one of our regular characters, and the other one is like a background supporting player kind of thing. And so, you know, I think it was a really big creative swing to do that, and it really paid off with this episode.
I agree.
Like I mentioned at the beginning, I think this episode is one I've always enjoyed, but struggled a little bit to talk about just because of the ways Garak's 3 different versions of this story, you know, all 100% bullshit, I think, you know, are just like, what do we do with this? And yeah, I think I always struggled with just like, what the fuck are we supposed to take away from all of that besides Garak's tenuous relationship to the truth? And this watch through, taking the notes, felt like it really helped me to slow down. And, you know, I was very focused on what Garak's actual emotional arc and through line in this episode was. And I think ultimately, as I mentioned, it's all about his self-loathing and the blame that he feels for himself for ending up in exile. And, you know, these feelings are big and huge, and they oscillate between, wow, I fucking hate myself so much. How could I have fucked up so badly? I ruined everything. And this is exactly the life I deserve, actually, for all the things that I did. I'm being punished for my sins. This is where I deserve to be. Hence the different versions of the story, all with the same driving emotions. I think that this emotional oscillation is really, really interesting, ultimately because of how real it is. Like, there's some real fucking deep human psychology at play here, and it's fascinating just to watch as it unfolds across this 44-minute drama. And, you know, I think the biggest misstep of it is just that we don't have time to deal with Garak's addiction coming out of this. You know, the actual, like, putting the chemical stuff to bed is a little rushed through, but and in a way it also is very fitting because not that Garak would just be able to be like, I'm fine, moving on, but that would definitely be at least how he tried to approach it, and like whether or not he had success with that, you know.
Yeah.
Because he is someone who is so reliant on feeling in control. And you know, I think that's a big part of how he came to be addicted to these chemicals in the first place. I mean, we see in the opening scene, it's such great foreshadowing of how upset he's letting himself become just at the long line to get lunch, you know? And so he doesn't like to be out of control. And so I think as soon as the implant is out, it makes sense on some level for him to be like, cool, never fucking with that again, moving on, and then is gonna have like horrible withdrawal for the next several months, but is just gonna like grin and bear it because that's what he does. So I guess maybe in some ways that is very in character that we never got more from that, but I would have loved at least like a line from Julian being like, you know, he's trying to keep a stiff upper lip or whatever, but like the next 6 months are going to be horrible for him.
Ass.
Like, you know, like something like that, just to sort of acknowledge.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it's a quick pivot on that for sure. I think that's the one weakness of the episode. But yeah, I totally agree with your analysis that it's not the details of the stories that matters. It's the emotions. And actually, Andy Robinson has a quote that's like literally exactly about that. And it's in our behind the scenes. So I'm excited to discuss that. But yeah, I think we won't ever know what the truth is, but it ultimately does not matter in many ways because we know what the feelings that Garak has are, and that's what we're taking away here.
I mean, I would like, I don't know, I still think it would be interesting to find out more.
Oh, I like the mystery. I like that we don't find out the exact truth.
That's fair. I don't know that, I mean, I'm glad we don't find out in this episode for sure. But I don't know if I fully agree that like it's better that we never find out all the way. It just feels like it's a different approach to it, because like it could be really interesting to get into like what are the actual like quote unquote facts of what happened after we have gotten so much emotional story with Garak, and like we're like more connected to him emotionally than we are even to the idea of this story. While at the same time, I get sometimes mystery is better, or sometimes mystery is like a more, maybe not more satisfying, but at least it undercuts the potential for like a really unsatisfying answer.
Sometimes you don't want the exact answer.
Like I'm sick of like people trying to tell me like who the Joker is. Like that's not like
that's not the point.
We don't need to know who he was before he fell in the acid. That's not the point.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, are you good if we go into behind the scenes, because I think there's a lot in there kind of about what we're talking about, and I'd love to get into that as well.
Yeah, please take it away.
So Robert Hewitt Wolf, who wrote this episode, and then Ira Stephen Bear, who of course is one of our producers, debated over what Garak's true background was. So Robert Hewitt Wolf, who was the writer of this episode, and then Ira Stephen Bear, who is of course one of our producers, debated over what Garak's like true background was. So the movie Schindler's List had just been released when this episode was being written. And Bear said he thought like maybe Garak was like Schindler. Maybe he was someone who let, the prisoners go. And Wolf countered that maybe he wasn't. Maybe Garak was, the Butcher of Budapest instead. And as they were going through this debate, they decided, let's keep all of the versions of the story. And they believe the truth lies somewhere in the various versions. So they deliberately, said, we can't say for sure.
Oh, see, that's funny. I disagree with them. I don't think that whatever was the reason he actually got exiled has anything to do with this fake story that he told 3 different versions of.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think he completely made this up.
All of it. Whole cloth.
I do.
Interesting.
Interesting. Because there's just, well, I don't know if I need to even get into that. I just don't believe it.
I just think you're lying.
Yeah, I think fully there's like some complete other story that's like probably not even that interesting about like how it happened.
Well, and that could be true too. That's the beauty of us never getting an exact,
Gotta file your forms on time. Well, Andy Robinson has said of this episode, was quoted as saying of this episode, "I wish there was more writing like that for television. I think we'd have a much healthier industry," which is a great quote, and I feel like is very true. And Robinson further shared about the episode, quote, "When you get moments like in The Wire, where Garak is in great emotional distress, even at those moments where you don't know if what he's saying is the truth or not, but you know that emotionally he is telling the truth." And so that's sort of what I have been getting at.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I wanted to to talk about it, because it's like, the emotions he's expressing are real.
Yeah.
It's
and I
very
think
real.
That is the underpinning for kind of my belief that like none of this was ever true, is like he's not trying in any way to tell Julian a story about true things that happened, like even like true things that he's fudged a little bit. Like he is trying to explain to Julian his emotional reality, which is that he is a garbage person who deserves what's happening to him. And so like that is what he's trying to convey with these stories. And so I don't see that he would feel any need to make them adhere to like whatever may or may not have actually happened around his exile. It's about this emotional truth that he's trying to convey, which is that in every version of the story, I do the wrong thing, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Sitting at Faldil considered The Wire to be a very important episode for Julian and his relationship with Garak.
I would agree.
And he's very right. And he shared, we, Siddig and Andy, spent so much time together, got to know each other, and realized we liked working with each other. So that's an episode that's close to me. Andy and I worked extremely hard on that one, and it took a great deal out of both of us. We realized at that point that the relationship between Garak and Bashir was never to look back.
Incredible.
Yeah. Gay.
On a less emotional, much funnier note, this episode marks the first and only on-screen mention in the entire run of Deep Space Nine of Julian's middle name, Sabatoy. So, there's that.
Iconic. They could only do it once. It was too cunty.
And somebody was like, what the fuck was that?
We'll never mention it again. Don't worry about it. So the actual original idea for the episode was a Kira-centric story, which would show that she had been addicted to battle stimulants ever since her days in the Resistance.
Oh.
The idea was rejected because it would be difficult to do subsequent episodes with Kira without referencing the addiction, and the producers felt it would, quote, tarnish her character, which I have feelings about, just
yes,
from a, point of view that, people who have addictions are not, like, inherently evil people, and
right,
you can
aren't
be an addict.
Garbage that we
I don't care for
show.
that shit, producers.
Yeah, that's some bullshit. Fascinating. I mean, I don't know that I kind of agree about like the things about like, oh, we'd have to then bring it up all the time, like the stuff that we were sort of talking about with Garak. But weirdly, I feel like the bigger thing is like not so much, oh, we're gonna have to bring it up all the time moving forward, and more so for the last 2 seasons she's been on like Bajoran meth all the time.
All the time.
And like that's like, because then you'd have to figure out like what of the character's like personality and behavioral traits like came from this addiction, and then you would have to have the actor like change the performance so that their behavior is different off of the drug. Like that would just be like an enormous undertaking.
Huge retcon.
And I don't know that it feels like it would be worth. Yeah.
No, I'm glad that original idea was rejected. Not for the addiction reason, but for the continuity and changing the character reason.
Yeah, because it's an interesting concept in and of itself, and it might have been interesting to explore like with other Bajoran characters or with other, I mean, Deep Space Nine is very much like the one of the treks that deals most with like the military stuff, and so that could have been interesting, but yeah, agreed, not on that particular point.
No.
Lastly, for our behind the scenes, this episode, season 2, episode 22, The Wire, was the first ever episode of Deep Space Nine directed by a woman. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Shout out to Kim Friedman.
Fuck yeah,
she did
Kim
an
Friedman.
amazing job.
Oh, incredible
The directing in this episode was fantastic.
Phenomenal stuff.
That's fucking crazy, though.
Sexism is a hell of a
everybody
joke.
involved should be ashamed.
Yeah.
Jesus. Did you say sexism is Mulholland Drive?
No, I said sexism is a hell of a drug.
Oh. Got it. Okay. That makes more sense. Well, with that, let's pivot over to our design corner, which is where we talk about the set, the costumes, the sound, and the overall production design of the episode.
Let's do it.
What would you like to talk about today, Steph?
Well, I already talked about what I would like to talk about, which was Tane's outfit.
I'll do it some more. Why not?
Yeah, I just thought that was a really great costuming choice. Really well done. Like we talked about the juxtaposition, and also it very much is a man who's comfortable with power too. Like, it's well put together. It's well tailored. Like, it's a very put together person. Yeah,
right. But also, like, he's not like strutting it. Like, when
again, it's not
power,
ostentatious.
Like,
yeah.
He doesn't have to wear a flashy suit or anything. In fact, it's better if you underestimate him.
Yep.
Yeah, I really liked that. I really liked his like turtleneck.
Yeah.
Even though they always give them turtlenecks so that they don't have to paint their whole neck, I still enjoy it every time.
We forgive them.
My mention for Design Corner this week, I feel bad about, but is a bit of a shit talk and less of a talking up. Throughout this entire episode, so we've encountered before the Cardassians' primary liquor that they drink. It's called Kanar. We've seen it before in those like beautiful like glass like dragon bottles. It always looks really cool. The actual substance itself looks like sticky tar. It's like pretty disgusting. But in this episode, from beginning to end, every time we see it, and we see it a couple times, Cardassian Kanar is depicted as a light blue liquid.
Okay. I was like,
looks like Romulan ale.
Okay, I was like, why does the Kanar look like Romulan ale? Like, did I just not pay attention and it was always like this?
No, somebody fucked up. Somebody fucked up bad.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing else to say about it, because we literally, when was the last time we saw Ducat? That was like last episode.
Yeah,
right?
It was during the Maquis. We see him with the fancy bottle. We talked about the fancy bottle of Kanar.
His glass of Kanar, and it's like motor oil. Yeah. So I don't know how we fucked this up, but it's like kind of egregious just insofar as like it clearly was supposed to be Kanar because we only have the Cardassians drinking it, and then specifically Tane orders it from the replicator. And so up until the point where it comes out of the replicator, it's like, okay, well, maybe Garak was just drinking something else, whatever. But it's like, not only is this Kanar, it's also the same drink that Garak was drinking earlier.
Quark actually says, he's like, oh, he drank half my stock of Kanar. So Quark calls it Kanar. Yes, he does,
but I think in that moment, I was like, well, maybe he drank all the Kanar, so now he's drinking something else.
So now he's moved on to something else.
Yeah, who's to say? But, then in the Tane scene, it's very, like,
that's Kanar.
Here is your, like, fish tank blue liquid. The Cardassians stealing the Romulans' lunch several ways in this episode. Fuck the Tal Shiar and fuck Romulan ale, apparently. We're just, stealing their lunch.
Good for them.
All right, well, with that, thank you all so much for joining us for this episode and for our discussion of The Wire.
We have one final segment left in today's episode, a little something we like to call Consulting the Orb of Prophecy, where we look ahead into the future of the series and discuss spoilers that relate to this week's episode.
If you've watched Deep Space Nine before, or just don't mind spoilers, stick around after we sign off for that discussion. If you're watching along with us for the first time and don't want to be spoiled for future episodes, you're going to want to hop off after the sign-off.
The Star Trek Deep Space Nine Parmont cast is recorded in San Diego and Fremont, California, and produced by us, as well as our retired head of the Obsidian Order, Peter.
A big thanks to friend of the show, Matt, who produced our theme music, and to Tumblr user at GrandCon221B, whose Star Trek pit crew was used to generate the avatars of us featured in the show's cover art.
New episodes drop every week on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
If you have any questions, comments, or would like to chat with us about Star Trek, you can email us at ds9cast@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky at ParamountCast for updates and memes.
Last but not least, if you're enjoying the show, please review and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other folks to find the show. And please, join us next week for our discussion of Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 23, Crossover.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you then.
See you later.
Denizens of the Wiggly Woo Zone. We are here to move out of sync with linear time, to look ahead to that which has not yet influenced our episodes, and discuss them.
Yes, we're going to talk non-linear, baby. Let's do it.
Talk non-linear to me. In the orb zone. Thank you.
Amazing.
All right. Well, we got a lot of stuff that this episode looks ahead to. I mean, there's a whole tapestry that it sort of like starts and then just like leaves arms out like, well, you coming?
Yes, we get lots of Garak stuff. The big one, of course, is Anabran Tain, who is in fact Garak's father.
Yep, the first appearance of Garak's father, although we will not learn that until the very, very end of the series.
Yeah, quite a ways.
I should say learn that for a fact.
Yes,
very end of the series.
It's suspected. It's hinted. It's, Garak's tenuous relationship with the truth and Anabran Tain's tenuous relationship with the truth.
Right.
But yeah, we have a lot of great stuff to come with Tain with the Dominion War, and of course more of Garak's backstory and the super complicated relationship he has with Tain as, his mentor, his father, and also his tormentor in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who tries to kill him like multiple times.
Well, that's family.
What are you gonna do?
I love Anabran Tain. I think he's a great character. I read that he was created just as a one-off for this episode, and the reason he ends up coming back for like 3 or 4 more is because people liked him, and it's totally fair. I mean, he did a great job. He's only in the one scene in this episode, and he does such a good job with it.
Oh, he's great. Yeah.
Calling ahead to my favorite Anabran Tain plotline, I think, or rather, I think this episode calls ahead to my favorite Anabran Tain plotline, showing where he's like, oh, yeah, I'm retired, blah, 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 I live over here on this colony, but I keep my fingers in the pudding.
Yeah.
And it just makes me think of how, I think it's at the end of season 3, maybe midway through season 3, maybe season 4. I don't know. I didn't look it up ahead of time. But there's the 2-parter where Garak and Odo sort of accidentally stumble into the fact that Tain has sort of subsumed control of the Obsidian Order out from under the government and is like secretly running it again.
Yeah.
And is like, oh, and we're going to team up with the Romulans, and we're gonna go nuke these fucking changelings.
Yep.
Like, we're not fucking around here. That 2-parter is maybe my favorite episodes of the show. I mean, I say that all the time, but those 2, I think it's The Die Is Cast and something else, are incredible. I mean, they are Deep Space Nine at its absolute fucking best. And this episode feels like it really is sort of a spiritual prequel to that one, wherein like, again, it's another kind of 2-hander of Garak and Odo in that case, and it's a lot of like intense emotional beats, like a lot of like, it's just the 2 of these guys on screen, like I mean, there's famously the scene where Garak tortures Odo, which I think is an interesting reversal of this episode where Julian is working so hard to free him from this thing that was supposed to protect him from torture, and Odo is standing there being like, but can I ask him some questions? Of just like Odo and Garak are just like working on a very different level than Bashir is, and I feel like we get that from them in that episode in a way that I really love. Yeah. How about from you? Anything else?
Well, I think it's just such an interesting relationship, like, you know, that Tane and Garak, and then Tane basically refuses to acknowledge Garak as his son until he's on his deathbed. Because we've seen and will continue to see just how important family is to Cardassians. And so for Garak to grow up without any, because Tane refused to acknowledge him, you know, his mother was MIA or dead. We're not entirely totally sure on that.
I think his mother's Mila.
Okay, so apparently that is never 100% confirmed.
No, yes, but
we assume, that it's the housekeeper.
Yes. Yeah.
But that would have made life like 1,000 times more difficult for him. And I imagine fed into his yearning to be like the best Cardassian to make up for what he lacked in his childhood, you know, that he never had this family that is so crucial, you know, to Cardassians. Like, so it's such a fascinating relationship, and it's a great dynamic, and the two of them are really, really good.
I mean, Garak is just maybe the most fascinating Star Trek character. Like, there are so many good ones, but I don't know that there are any that are quite as consistently, like, eyebrow raise fascinating as Garak. And just the journey that we're gonna go on with this man. I mean, when you think about, like, season 7 and the role that he has in, like, you know, the Cardassian resistance movement and the, like, building a new Cardassia for the 25th century is, like, never in a million years could you have guessed starting out here, you know? And it's interesting. There's so much about his patriotism, really probably nationalism is the better word, that he has not started to unpack yet. And, you know, that makes what he goes through in this episode so hard because, or all the harder, because he's really in that place, as we talked about, of, like, no one to blame but himself. You know? And I think as time passes, he will become much more willing to look in the eye. Like, Cardassia does some bad stuff, and not just bad stuff, like, generally, but, like, bad stuff that, like, doesn't serve us and, like, actually maybe has made us a weaker society as a result. And that is a really powerful and potent part of his arc. And you know, you see all of the ways that Cardassian society has failed him in this episode. And so I think that this episode is, you know, sort of an egg of that arc, and it kind of hatches at the end of this episode as he sits down to lunch with Juliet, even though he's still bringing those fuck-ass terrible books with him.
Just Garak is great. And this is, of course, the start of him being more than just Julian's regular lunch date / crush / boyfriend who occasionally has some useful info. Now we get more of Garak as he is as a person, which is so great.
Yes. Not
everything that you're
Garak
talking about.
Person,
that's to come.
But also, like, Garak as... Like, despite the fact that this was very much a Julian and Garak episode, I do think that what you're pointing to is right, in that after this episode, Garak is no longer just a Julian supporting character.
Yes.
He is like an inhabitant of the station that everyone interacts with, and that everyone has their own unique sort of, like, dynamic with.
Yes.
And that's tricky for a guest star to kind of break out to that point. And there will be several of those on DS9, and I think Garak, you know, kind of breaks the glass ceiling, so to speak.
The guest star glass ceiling.
Yeah, exactly. So, thank you to that, Mr. Elam. For that.
All right.
You got anything else for us, Steph?
Not today. You
always leave them wanting more, right?
You gotta. Give them a little tease.
As the great Betty White said right before she died at 99, always keep them wanting more.
What an icon. So true.
All right, folks, we will see you next week in keeping with that spirit.
Episode 23. Don't miss it.
It's got to be a good one, y'all.
Okay, bye. We love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.